this whole area is just filled with government buildings, and they don't want you to record the buildings, but basically just a truck. You see their guns? They have, what are they, machine guns? Like AKs?
Those are M16.
Look at the little baby! Hey beautiful souls! Okay, so we're currently in the car and I want you to join. Because you see these here, these are not your ordinary lights, okay? These lights, they have the Salvadoran flag that shows up on them when it's the nighttime, and it looks so awesome because all the way up here you will just see the Salvadoran flag on all of the poles that are holding up the the electricity line. So we're gonna have to show you that one day. Undercover billionaires. Shh. Shh. The highway here is like the most beautiful, or one of the most beautiful highways ever, because there's so much life on the road. And you know, like in the US, for example, if you're in the US, if you're in the UK, somewhere in Europe, and the highways are pretty dead, like, you gotta be honest. Comment down below if you know what I mean, because it's just basically concrete jungle. Everything is concrete, 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 concrete. There's no life. Maybe there's like some fields or something, but here in El Salvador the highways are so stunning. You see all the mountains, it's super scenic. There are so many amazing views when you're driving, and it just makes the experience so much more enjoyable. Like here, for example, I mean, just look at that. It's just absolutely stunning. You see the beautiful mountains everywhere you're driving. It's beautiful. Another thing I want to mention, you have to know this, like you have to hear this, because there's so much news and controversy surrounding El Salvador, which you've probably heard about in one way or another. And you may or may not know that El Salvador is actually classed as a third world country. So what do you think when you hear the term third world? Poverty, not being clean, streets being dirty, things not being very modernized. But it's actually quite the opposite for the most part, okay? Think about homelessness. Would you think that there are a bunch of homeless people in a third world country living on the streets because of the poverty? Yeah, you probably would, right? Because that's typical in third world countries. But here in El Salvador, you hardly ever see homeless people on the streets. But if you go to somewhere like that is considered first world and very wealthy, let's say like New York or London, absolutely ridden with homelessness. So tell me, comment down below your thoughts on this. Because if you come here to El Salvador, you're not going to see a single homeless person in majority of the areas, because every single individual here, even living in poverty, making maybe $100 a month or less or nothing, they find a way to build a house with materials, and they build houses. Even though they may not be able to have a proper roof over their head, they still do what they can to put a roof over their head with absolutely nothing. And yet in the US, you have people sleeping on the streets everywhere you go. In New York, in Los Angeles, in all these places that are supposedly meant to be first world. in London, in Cambridge, in the UK. Cambridge meant to be one of the most wealthiest cities in the United Kingdom, and yet it's absolutely ridden with homelessness. And the streets in Cambridge, guys, it literally looks like a bombshell has hit them. There are so many potholes in the streets, and yet here in El Salvador, you just don't really find that. In the main areas of the capital even, it's so clean, okay? And it's nothing like the UK or the US in that regard. And yet it's still considered third world. So how crazy is that?
¿Pero es lo mismo auto y completo o no? No, ¿verdad? Hay una diferencia. Okay. ¿Cuál es el auto?
Here in El Salvador, guys, if you didn't know this, here in El Salvador, you don't get out of your car to fill up gas. And no one's gonna let you either. If you pull up to a gas station, the employees fill your car with gas. And they're super helpful, and that's just how it works here. And I never ever encountered this when I was living in the UK, not even once. In the UK, you will not find a single individual at a gas station that's willing to fill your car or your vehicle with gas. It's just non-existent. But here in El Salvador, you do not need to get out of your car or even take a single step to fill your car or your vehicle with gas. People here are very helpful, and the culture is very different. You know, it's extremely different. And for me, I had a sort of, you could say, culture shock when we moved here.
Buen día. ¿Me puede dar 30 super, por favor? 30 super. Gracias, man. And they also fill up your tires with air.
And they also fill up your tires with air. They will wash your windscreen for free, but we always tip the workers or the employees if they're doing things like that, because why wouldn't you? They're literally doing it for free without you even asking them to, without even requesting. It's so kind. Okay, so we're in the deep matrix right now, as my husband just said. That's a great way to describe it. In the nucleus. And basically this whole area is just filled with government buildings, and they don't want you to record the buildings, but it's okay. We're gonna head in now, so we'll see you after the appointment.
Con 8,500 y el adelanto de ellos.
Okay, I'm just eating a croissant. I love croissants. So do you see the soldiers literally just stand in the van when it's driving? This is a pretty common sight, you know. And also people, they get into pickup trucks, and it's basically like a form of transport. Like just anyone can go on pickup trucks, and it's just basically you're holding onto the rails of the back of an open vehicle, and it's like what, 20 cents? No, like 5, how much is it? It's like 25 cents to go on a pickup truck, basically nothing. So it's cheaper than an autobus, it's cheaper than a bus, even though the buses are like a few cents only. And those are common. But yeah, what you saw there is similar to how people get on pickup trucks, but it's just like a normal thing here. You know, you see the soldiers just casually holding on to the rails of the back of a whatever it is, I don't know. It's basically just a truck. You see their guns? They have, what are they, machine guns? Like AKs?
Those are M16.
They've got like M16s, you know, some have, I don't know if they're, I think I've seen some holding like AK-47, basically just machine guns. You know, people here who are soldiers, who work for the government, the police, they very casually are equipped at all times in public. You'll see them patrolling the streets, the cities, the main areas, the capital in San Salvador, and really just looking out for people's safety. And the streets here are extremely safe, thanks to 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗲 and the regime and what's been happening over the last few years. El Salvador is one of the safest countries in the whole world, and don't believe media or the news tell you, because it's not true. We live here and we experience life here every single day and night. Even at nighttime, it is so safe to walk on the street in anywhere, any location. Even places that used to be absolutely controlled and corrupted by gangs. Now, super safe. You can walk anytime, go anywhere. You can't even do that in states in the US. Like, let's be real, if you're in the US, you know some states, you can figure some states that are just dangerous to be in, full stop. I mean, let's say like Chicago, for example. You just hear people shooting each other. Like, I haven't been there myself, but I know about this. And in the UK and parts of London, really rough. So here in El Salvador, even though it's considered as third world, don't believe the news or the media, because many parts are more first world than anything. And that's my perspective as someone who is considered a Westerner, considered privileged, compared to people here in El Salvador, compared to what the culture is like here. Okay? And I will tell you that many parts of El Salvador, for me, are way more preferable than some of the richest cities in the United Kingdom. Okay? That's my experience. You might disagree, but if you come here, just know that it's super safe and I highly recommend it. And it's such a beautiful place also for a family. Someone's just walking their cows here. Look at the little baby. Little makeup. Oh, they're so cute. Little baby. Oh, and there's another one. Hola, Don Francisco. That was Don Francisco with the cows.